Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm excited to just chat more account management and kind of bring it a level deeper. I think that last time Taylor brought the heat, talking about like what to prepare and how to understand that maybe you need an account manager, the warning signs, the symptoms and things. And now we're going to kind of pull back a layer and say, all right, if I know I'm ready, how do I prepare for this? So I'm excited.
Yeah, I am too. So let's kind of dig in. So obviously, Allison and her team are the total guns when it comes to operations. So figuring out what systems and processes and making things that are repeatable and, organized. So, Allison, what is kind of the biggest mistake that you see when somebody first takes on an account manager? Like, what are they doing wrong that maybe folks listening could learn from?
Yeah, I think, ultimately, when we bring in any team member into our business, really what ends up happening is we put somebody in a slot and we say, all right, this is what's expected of you. And so here are the things that you need to be doing, the tasks, the job description, all the things. And then here are the metrics that I'm expecting to kind of see from this. And so I think that's probably the biggest mistake is not even just kind of thinking through, okay, this is exactly what I want them to kind of create in my business, right? It doesn't need to be anything crazy formal, just kind of putting something together to really set the expectation for somebody. And honestly, one of the best ways that, you can do that is by creating something repeatable for them to just get better over time at. And of course, I'm talking about processes and systems here, but really just being able to kind of lay that groundwork for them so they feel like they have a place in the agency, right? I think a lot of folks bring in a new hire and they're like, create your place here, throw you into the fire. And, I think it's challenging sometimes. And we see a lot of turnover in that area because of that. So even just thinking through, okay, what do I want to see this person create here? And just carve out a little space for them, right? Create some repeatable tasks and create a system for them.
Mhm. And when it comes to bringing somebody into a business and maybe you have like a shell of like, okay, here generally what I want you to do. I want you to talk to clients. I want you to oversee project management. I want you to build SOPs. But how do you see it kind of progressing, let's say over the first year in terms of their scope? Like, have you seen any moments where you're like, "Oh, these people really should have been more organized or had these systems built out first," or do you recommend them kind of running with it as they go? Like, where's the kind of the best mix?
Yeah, there's a gray area in there, right? It really depends on personality of the agency and truthfully expectations of the owner, right? If we've got someone like myself, right, I will not accept spelling and grammar errors. Just won't, will not happen. And I know that other people don't exactly share that specific soapbox issue with as I have. So that sort of thing, right? The expectations are going to be slightly different. But I've always found it best, especially within the first year, right, to think through because when you're an agency owner, I mean, we talked about this briefly last time in the last session, but I mean, it's hard to let go. It really is. And I understand and I can empathize with. I mean, I run my own agency, you run your own agency. Like, we know this is a challenge, right? And it's your brand, it's your face, it's your reputation. And you want to make sure that someone can get amazing results for you. And so, what I challenge a lot of folks to do when they take on a first hire is don't just throw them in and give them 40 hours or 30 hours a week or whatever the kind of full-time role is right away if we don't feel like the role itself is ready for something like that, right? If you yourself aren't spending 30, 40, 50 hours a week doing account management, then maybe bring somebody on in a small kind of chunk of hours just to take maybe 20% of the account management role off your plate. See how that goes, really optimize things, get a good procedure in place, get a good system working. And when I talk procedure and system, I mean like procedure is the step by step. This is how we do something in our agency. And a system is like how we make that work via, let's just say, Asana or through a communication schedule or all the things, right, that kind of need to work together. And so, really doing that together with an account manager can be really beneficial because sometimes account managers are often more systems minded than the owners. And it also is a huge take rate for a new person coming in and really helping to create something with the owner versus just having the owner like thrust all of these expectations on them. Don't get me wrong, expectations should totally be defined, but perhaps we could say, okay, these are the expectations, but maybe the road for how we get there is something we could still maybe work on together.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that because even sometimes we'll go into an agency and the agency owner's like, listen, this is where I want to get to. I want this to be a repeatable process that we can onboard 10 clients in a month or 20 and it works. But I just don't know how to get there. And that's where I need your help. And that is like the best feeling for an account manager to step in and be like, okay, great. I understand where we're going. Let's kind of like figure it out together and build these SOPs and kind of make this work because like having an SOP in place is awesome, but it's always going to be changing. It's going to be optimized. It's going to be changing as the business grows and as the team grows. So maybe you could walk us through some SOPs or maybe some high level processes that an agency should kind of have in place before they think about bringing on an account manager, whether it's high level or really granular.
Yeah. So onboarding is huge. I mean, absolutely need an onboarding process in place. I think, especially as account managers are beginning to work with your agency, if you're a highly specialized agency, or if you're kind of, just being in a position where you guys are just building web property. I mean, truthfully, agencies need specific things and have specific preferences for how they do their best work. And truthfully, that's why agencies, there are so many and all of them are staying in business, is because they all have their own intellectual property. All have their own process. And so they need to understand that perhaps more than anything. And that is probably most relevant in the onboarding and strategic processes for how you onboard your clients, right? When you're in a position where you've just told them, hey, listen, these are the really cool, amazing things that we're going to do for your business. And here are the really cool, amazing things we're going to do throughout the course of this project or this retainer that we've just built out together. We need to understand, as kind of systems people behind the scenes, the account manager needs to understand, okay, what do I need to gather from the client and how do I begin this beautiful relationship that you've just started, right? And so I think onboarding is going to be huge there. Your account manager should probably take like the total lead in onboarding. I personally think it's almost just as important. And I know we touched on this last time too, as like being in the sales seat and then really just saying, hey, listen, the baton is passed now, right? Like this is your point person. This is the person you need to go to with everything, and really just transferring that authority over to the account manager. So having a clear onboarding process in place is huge, and just being in a position to say, all right, this is absolutely what we need and absolutely how we're going to be communicating with the client, how we're going to be delivering strategy. Those things I think are going to be paramount. Now, I think between the onboarding and then like the launch phases, right? That kind of how we pull everything together and kind of rooting the team in some of those things. I think we could, have some things in place if things are working with you guys and you've actually done some of these procedures in the past. Definitely document the things that are going really well for the agency. But if there's a bottleneck or something doesn't quite feel right and you're looking to plug an account manager in to kind of help the throughput of certain areas in fulfillment, definitely bring them into the conversation and say, hey, listen, this is how we're doing things right now. Here's how it's not working. And how can we perhaps troubleshoot this to make it better in the future?
I love that. Love that. So when we're talking about success for an account manager, so obviously like a lot of agencies think of an account manager role as almost like a cost center, like it's just a butt in a seat, just somebody doing a job. But you and I would look at it more of like a product center. Like, how is this person making you more efficient, making you more money, making the business more successful? But what are some of the things that you would put in place into an agency to kind of track? Maybe it's a scorecard, maybe it's metrics, maybe it's tracking, but what are some of the things that you're looking for when it comes to the account management role operationally to see success?
Yeah, definitely. I think that there's a couple of things I usually keep my finger on the pulse on. So I talked about onboarding just now, right? The time to onboard someone is a direct reflection on the account manager, in my opinion, right? If we've got a clear onboarding process, we're getting all the things that we need from the client, they're communicating really effectively, we've got a form that they're filling out, there's no confusion there. Time to onboard is incredible because it really launches the project and kind of sets the tone for here's how we communicate, here's how quickly I'm looking to get things back, from you and all of those things, right? I think all of us as agency owners or who have worked with agencies have been in the kind of proverbial, I can't get my client to answer the email or get me that thing I need or whatever. And so this really sets the tone really well. So that is going to save money in the long run because obviously we're going to be starting projects off really well. Fulfillment wise, right? We want to be in a position to make sure that projects are not going over from whatever we quoted in the proposal, right? That's going to be by far, I mean, you can shave cost per lead and, cost per sale off all day long, but the biggest ROI for an account manager or an operations person or anything back of house that makes you more efficient is the money that you save not going over on projects, because agencies do accrue revenue on time bound, right? So anything that goes over in projects is going to then leak into the availability that you have for new incoming projects right down the line. So That's huge, absolutely huge. The other big thing that I actually ask agencies to track whenever they are working with account managers or just put a little process in for is rework and revisions from clients. I think that something like an account manager center can be really, really helpful in taking some of those rework or those revisions from clients and making sure that they don't really put a wrench into kind of how things are operating from a day to day. And also, they can be kind of owners of the revisions process, right? Really getting with the team and saying, hey, listen, this had to go back and forth revision wise 5 or 6 times. Why did that happen? Right. Really allowing them to take some ownership and like helping the team members work out their process. So those are like three big, I think, like money sucks from a fulfillment perspective and from an efficiency perspective that'll put everything goes right to the bottom line, right? If you're fulfilling more efficiently. And so it's actually going to be something that the account manager can really help do. Additionally, to I mean, not for nothing, the center of the account manager is definitely, I think, person based in the sense of like the person drives the success, but I think systems wise, right? If we have really good systems around how we manage accounts, we can be in a position where as we grow, we can duplicate that role. And then we can have 4, 5, 6 account managers and then ultimately we can 4, 5, 6x our agency. So if we get this really right, it is absolutely a multiplier because then all of a sudden we have 6 departments and 6 account managers, and this person is becoming an efficiency center for multiple areas of your business.
I love that. So tracking with your account managers, efficiency, where there's leaks, all these things are going to be so important as you scale, right? Because a lot of agency owners might have 1, 2, 3 account managers. So then also kind of comparing it across your account managers to see, okay, why is Benny's like way, higher than Sarah's? Like almost like comparing also, not to compare people, but where are their efficiencies? What is this person doing that this person could benefit from? And kind of sharing those resources is really crucial as well.
Yeah. And it does become a person thing, I think, a little bit at scale, but it's also a system thing, right? I mean, if one system works well for one person, then we extrapolate that and bring on another person, but that system isn't working well for that person. We might just solve for the variable and say, well, why isn't that working? Which does in turn make our systems better, right? So that when we go to, like I said, 5, 6 account managers, we really have a system that is person agnostic, right? It doesn't really share a lot of preferences. It's just nice and cut and dry and really easy to run.
I love that. And if there's any people who are maybe nerdy on the system side, they're like, "Ooh, I like this." Maybe more the people pleasers are like, "Oh, but how is this gonna work?"
I talk about this a lot with agencies. So there's like a Venn diagram that I see relating to kind of how we operate back of house, and it goes from people, processes, and systems, right? And they all kind of cross over together. And our job as leaders is to try to kind of cover the bases of the systems and processes side so that we can let the people flourish and just take our things, like, right, just run with stuff. And so oftentimes when I come in and assess a business, I see that the systems or, maybe the sales system or the CRM isn't exactly doing what we want it to do based on our process. Or maybe we have a system, but no process. So we're like pigeonholing into this thing that we think is going to save our business. And the people are going crazy because they have to learn a new system every 6 months or whatever. Right. And so we need all those things to just constantly be flowing together. And nothing is truer than when you have an account manager, right? You need a clear process. And then you need to be in a position where you provide them a system that says, hey, listen, based on the process I just told you, here's what we're going to be working out of, and here's how this is going to be working. And that person is just going to skyrocket your agency. I mean, just skyrocket.
Amazing. So this is our second session, and I think in both sessions we've talked about the importance of hiring an account manager to skyrocket your business. So that seems to be a little bit of a trend. Um, but Allison, can you kind of give maybe the listeners something that they can take away today to actually do and maybe help them out as they're maybe thinking about bringing on an account manager, maybe a tip or a tool?
Yeah, totally. So as you're working through your day to day, I love thinking through here's my to do list, and here are some things I could perhaps offload to somebody. And especially if you feel like a lot of your to dos are in kind of the account management vein, if you don't have Loom inside of your Chrome extension, like on your Chrome bar, get it immediately and just start recording your screen when you're starting to do account management esque stuff, whether that's managing the project, checking in with team members, if it's communicating with clients and drafting emails, all of those things can kind of be compiled into, and listen, you don't have to write out standard operating procedures tomorrow, but even if they can kind of see your screen and see the definition of done and be able to track with you and get the same results that you're getting, or at least closer to the result, so that you can kind of come in and finish up things, that's going to be incredible. So if you're thinking like, oh, this is me, these girls are laying it down, and I definitely need an account manager tomorrow, just start thinking through some of those things and start recording your screen as you're going through and doing your tasks today and say, all right, this is maybe how I could get started doing this.
Absolutely love that. And I'm also a big lover of Loom. Like, it saves the day. Even just before we hopped on to record today's session, I had to review something from one of my team members, and I was like, "Okay, great, 30 seconds, Loom, walk me through feedback." Then they're gonna learn for the next time, and it's not like I had to write out a big email. 30 seconds done. So
Yeah.
definitely take that tip.
Yeah, it really is. Well, hey, I'm excited. This was really fun, perhaps a little nerdy. So sorry, I'm super excited about systems. But next, we're going to talk about managing an account manager.